I look like a complete mess right now, I know, and it's because I kind of am. I just feel like I kind of need to speak on this topic because everyone's been asking me about it. It's something I've been so on the pulse of, and I've been such an active member of the community of Brad Taste in Music that I kind of. I want to talk on it just to clear the air on my stance, just so people aren't asking me any questions. I can send them over to this video because this is such a turning point in the entire series of events that I kind of feel like I need to give my stance on because my stance has changed. So, well, not as you all will know, but as a lot of people will know, my stance on the entire situation before the SI video came out went like this. When the drama first started happening, back when he first shared the image, I was like, you know what, that was a bad image. Keemstar, not someone whose opinions I align with, but you know, I'm not gonna like say that Brad Taste is like a Zionist, fucking crazy individual or anything like that. Like he's like supporting a genocide. It's just him taking a picture with someone who he admires for their content. And then there's how he handled the situation, which was bad. All he really needed to do was like just give a basic standard apology, admit that what he did was in the wrong, but you know, he handled it in a way where it was very stressful and it kind of like spiraled into like a lot of very big emotional outbursts and you know, it was not the type of thing that I could sit here and like excuse, but I never thought it was career ending stuff, you know. It always just seemed like him being in the middle of a stressful situation, and then the stuff with like his editor was piled on top of that, and then there was a Rose Mullet situation or whatever that happened at the same time that I completely fucking forgot about, to be honest. But none of the stuff felt like career ending. The editor thing turned out to be a misunderstanding. The Rose Mullet thing was so insignificant that I forgot about it. And then the Ethan Klein thing and his response just seemed like a result of being under a lot of stress, and a break was clearly needed. Things escalated and escalated and escalated until it got to the point where, you know, a bunch of big changes to Brad Taste happened, and he ended up moving and took a big break, going into rehab and whatnot, and that was a good thing. It was needed. The break was absolutely needed because during that break, and with him slowing down his content a bunch, when he came back, it was clear that he had finally started to get better. You know, yeah, his content started improving again. Seeing his attitude on streams made it pretty clear to me, or what seemed to me at the time, like he was finally doing a lot better. And it seemed like we were finally steering the ship in the right direction after what was about 7, 8 months of repeated, you know, turning up the heat on this scenario, essentially. And then recently, a 2 month period happened where there was no uploads besides one video he did that was like about Black Mirror. And, you know, I'm sat there, like, he's posting images to Twitter every couple weeks of him, like, traveling the world or whatever, seeming like his mental health is a lot better. And then he drops that video, and I think, okay, this is all finally over. I can now finally not be worried about any more drama in this area happening anymore. And I'm finally at a point where I like don't have to sit here and try and like really dig into everything to try and form like how do I put this? To try and form as informed of an opinion as possible to make sure that I am not like supporting someone who is actively doing like terrible shit, but like letting that be clouded by how much of a fan I was of the person. And that was a you know, this is such a trivial thing, but that was the thing that I was doing a lot of the time, kind of like having to stay so on the pulse and be thinking constantly and looking in such detail. I was so deep in like learning about this drama. I was following along every single step of the way, and you know, it was stressful or whatever, but it was like I just need to have as educated an opinion as possible, you know. But yeah, anyway, at that point it felt like everything was over, and then he uploads the SI video, And I'm going to be honest, I saw the title, I know what SI stands for, I saw the intro of the video, and I was like, okay, this is probably going to be a video giving like one last update about like mental health struggles and what he's overcome and whatnot. So I left a comment. It was something along the lines of, hope you're doing better. You know, don't feel forced to come back to content straight away. Take your time. And I watched that before watching the rest of the video. And then the rest of the video happened. And it was one of the most confusing things I've ever watched. Where 50% of it was like, okay, I guess you're putting your point of view across and sharing your emotions on the situation, but another 50% of it was like, you are not seeing other people's perspectives, and you have just backtracked on what is months and months, 7 months at this point, of progress. It was so confusing, and only having more time to think about it, it's now like genuinely upsetting that like someone who I admire so much, someone who, if it were not for him making content, this channel wouldn't exist. Genuinely, he, like, Brad Tay's stuff is the reason I started doing this shit. He's the reason I started getting into music talk. And, you know, seeing someone you admire so much just make such terrible decisions is just difficult to watch. Like, obviously I don't think he's like a terrible person. I don't think he's a complete fucking monster. I've seen people online saying, oh, his downfall is just as bad as Dr. Disrespect, it's just as bad as Boogie. It's not. It's someone with well intentions making genuinely stupid choices that I'm now at a point where I don't know if he should come back. I don't know. He said he's going to take a year break. He said that he is going to be completely offline for an entire year. And I don't know if I even want that. I don't know if I want an idol of mine, someone who I so greatly respect, to come back. I don't know. You know, everyone has like their content creator, you know, like some people will be like, oh, Markiplier, he is my YouTuber, he's the one I love. Some people in the music space will point to Spectrum Pulse or Mike the Snare or Fantano. Brad Taste was my YouTuber. Brad Taste was the one who I went to for comfort whenever I was feeling like shit. He would, like, every time he streamed, I was there. Every video, I was there. And then seeing this, all of this from shitty decision making that was started from a picture that he took with a content creator that's in hot water. It's disappointing. It's really disappointing. Like, I just have to sit here and, like, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, man. Like, I'm just genuinely kind of mentally... It feels like I've been completely mentally shaken by this. You know, it's just, like... Why? We were so close. We were this close. He'd taken the time off that it seemed like he needed. Put out that Black Mirror video. It was great. And, like, he was mostly staying offline. Not too many Twitter posts. Wasn't constantly updating stuff on Album of the Year. Put out one video in the span of 2 months. And then all of that was built up was just knocked down by this video that was so locked into one perspective that he did not see how anyone else saw this, and he shared information that was too private about his ex. He, like, admitted to things that changed my perspective of who he was as a person. Like, he spoke about being arrested, and obviously, the arrest wasn't because of, like, actual physical abuse or anything like that, but he, like, the stuff that's come out about that, his ex put out a Twitter thread that I read through, and knowing that extra bit of context, it's just like, we were so close. Like, all he had to do at the start of this situation was just admit, hey, I fucked up, this is my stance on this situation, and that's it. And we got here, over a year later. And the amount of outreach I've seen from other content creators that are, like, now condemning him, content creators that I also respect, like, I saw ARTV made a post recently, for example, and that just, like... Look, if he comes back and he is genuinely better, if that year passes and there is proof that he has completely reformed himself, that he is in a mentally better place, and that he has grown as a person, I think a return could be possible. Sure. But I don't think that's going to happen. I want to be proven wrong, but I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. I don't know. This is the only video I'm going to make about this situation. This is the only video I want to ever make like this. Obviously, I'm not involved in this drama at all. I'm not a figure that matters in the slightest. But I just felt like I had to say something. Okay, that's it. See you later.